guys, welcome back to another episode. I am Waraga Bolkir, and this is Waraga Global Influence Podcast. I keep on telling you guys, and I'll repeat it again, that this is not your regular podcast. It's a movement, guys, because we are here to impact your lives, we educate your mind and inspire your heart. It doesn't matter whether you are a student, a professional, or an entrepreneur, aspiring or a dreamer that want to be something big in future. I think you belong here now. Grab your pen, grab your paper, because we are taking off, and type up well. Buckle up very well, because we are taking you on a journey where at the end of it all you will learn, you will relearn. And by the way, this episode, I'm very excited about it. I've been looking forward to, to have this conversation with amazing Anna. And we're going to talk small on the job seeker. These days, guys, nobody is safe. Whether you are an employer or you are a job seeker, no one is safe. I don't care who you are. You need this. And now, let's just begin the conversation. And I just want to say thank you for everyone that has been subscribing, sharing. And for you who have not done that, do the needful. I mean, you don't want to miss this amazing episode that are coming up. Today, we are going to learn what it means to seek for a job. And she is here to give us a solution to your job search. And you are someone there who is an employer. You are a good person that will align with your organization, with your company. Guys, without any further ado, I just want to welcome her, because I cannot wait to have this conversation. Welcome, Anna.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Thank you for honoring our invitation. I mean, I've been looking forward.
Me too. I've been really looking forward. So I'm glad we can finally make it work.
Yes, I'm glad we could make it happen.
Yeah.
Wow. Now, I would like to begin by tell us about yourself and what you do, because this is your first time to come to Waraga Global Influence Podcast.
Yes. Well, thank you very much. Thank you again for having me. And yes, it's my first time, but I've been watching some of the other episodes, so I feel very privileged to be on today. So thank you. My name is Anna Rowett, and I'm the managing director of a company called Imatong Employment Solutions. So maybe to tell you a little bit about who we are and what we do. Myself, I've been in South Sudan since 2012. So I came here, which is now a long time ago, working for a small national organization. And after a few years with my business partners, we felt there was a need to set up an HR company here in South Sudan. So my business partners are a lady called Gladys Lassou. She's a health professional who's worked a lot in the NGO sector and with the UN as well. And then Ryan Marinkovitz, who's an Australian guy, and he's worked a lot in the private sector. He was working in South Sudan in honey production. And the three of us came together. And in 2015, we were reflecting, and we felt like, we recognized that in South Sudan there was a huge amount of talent that was in many ways like under-recognized, underutilized by some of the organizations and companies that were working here. And there was maybe a lack of transparency and fairness in some of the processes that happened around HR in the country. And so we wanted to be able to support the sort of development of the HR sector, really, which is why we felt like, let's start up our company, Imatong Employment Solutions, which is really focused on developing South Sudanese talent and bringing up South Sudanese talent. Working to contribute to sort of fairer, more respectful, kind workplaces in South Sudan. So that's what we did and decided on in 2015. And now 10 years later, here we are kind of trying to pursue that same mission, I guess. It's 10 years is a long time. We've come a long way. We've still got a long way to go. But I still believe that what we are trying to do is really important. And we're really fortunate to have worked with a whole range of different interesting clients across South Sudan, and to be able to place like so many great South Sudanese in jobs across the country and across different fields. We also provide a whole range of other HR services too, which are all about kind of supporting, as I say, better, I hope, workplaces in South Sudan, which might be about like managing contracts and managing payroll. It might be about doing trainings. It might be doing about surveys, for example, on salaries, other consultancies to help people think differently about their kind of workspaces and the ways in which they maybe treat and look after their employees as well. Because I think that that's sometimes something that gets overlooked. So that's another area that we sort of try to look at. So it's a whole range really of like people, let me say it like that. It's about people ultimately. And so that's what we do and what we're trying to do now. And we have a small team here in Juba, but we do work across South Sudan. And we have a wonderful office. We're very blessed to be in a beautiful space. And I think that's also something that we think about for other organizations too, about the spaces that we work in.
Wow, amazing. So many great stuff happening with Imatong Employment Solution. It is indeed a solution. Yeah, like I mentioned earlier, no one is safe, truly, because there's constant flux of, changing in the economic situation. I mean, with the employers from, downsizing to restructuring and realigning based on the availability of the resources that are there. You are the bridge that gaps the two parties, I mean, the employers and the employees. How are you able to ensure that both get satisfied in, both, the job seeker get the right job, and also the employees, because you don't want to, you want to satisfy them all in terms of you want to align the person, the job seeker, to the right job, and you also want to get the right person to the organization. How do you do that?
Sure, well, that's a good question. And I mean, as you rightly say, first of all, it's a really difficult market right now, and we really, I guess, as Imatong, we really see how difficult things are becoming in terms of looking for jobs in this market. So it's just really to recognize that and to appreciate the challenges that job seekers are really facing at this time in South Sudan. We know it's not easy. And as you say, we've seen a lot of changes in what the market looks like. There's changes in the NGO sector, the private sector is looking different. So it's a difficult moment, that's for sure. But nevertheless, there are still plenty of employers out there looking for good candidates. And, it's our job to really, as you say, to make sure that everybody involved in the process is somehow satisfied at the end. Of course, what we see at the moment is that for every job we advertise, we get so many applications. So, several hundred for any position we apply for. So we know that in every process, many candidates will be disappointed. And this is an unfortunate but normal part of the process. And it's, of course, hard when it's such a competitive environment. But what we really try to do, I guess, from the beginning to the end is, on the one side, to really understand our clients. So if you're looking for an economist, or if you're looking for somebody in food security, or you're looking for a driver, whatever it is, we want to understand, okay, that's a job title for sure, but what are some of the more, the other things that you're looking for in that position? And of course, that's all listed in the job advert, but it's also to really understand, like, what's the environment like in the office of the client that we're recruiting for? What's the work ethic and so on, so that we can understand really like the right person who will fit in. And then when we're looking at the candidates, it's a long process for us, right? So like I say, let's say we get a few hundred CVs. We're screening all of them one by one to have a look, first of all, of course, at all the essentials in the job description. So the qualifications, the years of experience, etc., things like that. And that's the first step. But then the next step, of course, is like thinking, okay, what's the real fit with what the position is looking for? And those can be some of the softer skills as well, right? And one thing that we also really look at, because what I would emphasize is that in many of let's say, for example, it's an M&E job, monitoring and evaluation position, and you apply, and you feel you really meet the criteria. You have 5 years of experience, you have a relevant degree, but you haven't been shortlisted, and you're asking yourself, why is that? If you are in our shoes, you will see maybe 50 people who are well qualified based on the essential qualifications.
Yes.
And all of those cannot make it, right?
Of course.
But of course, you're asking yourself as a candidate, why have I not been shortlisted? Exactly.
Yeah.
So one of the things to sort of say and to encourage candidates, I guess, to think about is really like then the presentation of their applications beyond those essential things. So it's for them also to look at that job description and say, hey, okay, well, this organization really, it emphasizes this particular value, for example. Like, how can I embody that? Or how do I embody that in my application? And one of the things we really see, I think, in our in the applications we receive is that people don't always show their best selves in their cover letters. And we spend a lot of time now looking at cover letters because many CVs are received for the same jobs. We don't see much, we look a lot on the cover letters. And I think that's something that we also provide support with, to help people with their cover letters, to think about how to write cover letters, because it's very hard.
Yeah.
But actually, you know, when it comes down to it and there are a few candidates who are very similar, your cover letter counts all the more than ever, you know. And so really thinking about how, like, who you are and how you match with the job advert, and really taking time on that, for me, it's something that's really important, and it can help us to better support the candidates. Because if you write a really good cover letter that's like really trying to show who you are, we understand you better, we can see better how you fit with the organization or the company that we are recruiting for. That's something that I would really highlight, because I think that's something that we see people face challenges with.
Correct.
And maybe just as a follow-up on that is just to say, either we see people repeating their CVs in their cover letter, or we see maybe people have gone to AI and said, write me a cover letter based on this CV and this job advert. We're all using AI these days, we understand.
Yes.
But you need to be smart with it, right?
A little bit, yeah, you need to edit it a little
exactly.
bit. Yeah.
And this is what we, I think, often miss, that sort of thoughtfulness that also says, like, why do I really want this job? AI can't tell you why you really want this job,
Oh my
right?
goodness. Yeah,
So, like,
it can't
you
guess
know,
your heart.
Exactly. And I want to see we want to see the real you.
The real
Employers
you,
want
yeah.
to see the real you.
Correct.
They don't want to see the AI generated you.
Yes.
So ask ChatGPT to help, but don't ask you to do it for you, you know.
Yeah.
So I think that's something I would encourage candidates to think about, and helps us to understand candidates better when we're shortlisting for our different clients. But also, I mean, I think the other thing that we try to do at all times is to give as much open communication to our candidates as possible. So, you know, if you have gone through a process with us, at least we give you feedback. And if at all you ever haven't been shortlisted, you want to know why, you know, we're here, and we would love for people to reach out to us, because part of our job is also to provide support to people, right? I've mentioned CV, cover letter training that we do, but it's also, you know, other things around mentorship and things like that, the support that we can provide to people. So our doors are open. So, you know, if people want to come and get support from us, then we're there. So we really try to balance the needs of both parties in our work. Yeah.
Excellent. Anna, for sure, I do feel like authenticity is very important. I think when you show somebody else, you come as Anna, and yet you're Mary, things won't work out for you.
Absolutely.
I think authenticity is very important. You have to be yourself, in as much as we use AI in some of the things. And I did it also.
Yeah.
For
all
the
of us.
question. Yeah, you mentioned something to do with training. To do with the soft skills. What would you know, with the today job market that we are in? What are some of the best skills? I mean, there are quite a number of skills in the market right now. But to you, what are some of the best skills, that one or two skills that you can recommend somebody can go for that would help, you know, the job searching easy?
Yeah, well, I would say the job search is probably never easy, even with these skills I might
bit.
suggest. But I guess what I would say, two skills that I personally really value, but I also understand that our clients value too. One of them is initiative. And that's about, like, taking things into your own hands, right? And that's why also, even from the cover letter stage, right, taking some initiative to be thoughtful about what you're writing and who you are, and tailoring it specifically. That's sort of the first step.
That's true.
But then it's also, like, you know, in your kind of environment, and I see in the workspaces that we're in, people who, like, they don't wait to be asked, right? They're not waiting for the boss to tell them what to do necessarily. They're thinking, I've got this idea. Let me go to the boss and even suggest this idea. You know, it's like taking that initiative is something so valuable, and to be honest, very rare. And I know everyone has it in them. Maybe it's about confidence. But I think that for me, when I see that in people I work with, or people I see working in other places, this is something I value beyond anything, because actually, if you can take some initiative, other problems can be overcome, you know. So I guess that's one thing I would say. It's just about, like, sort of, taking the lead in some of these things. The other thing is around communication. And again, I think that's, I see a lot of bad communication. But I really think that from our experience, like, any, you know, difficult topics can be handled with communication, right?
Correct.
And so then there's no such thing as, like, something that's unresolvable if you can communicate about it. And if you can communicate about it in a kind way, in a fair way, in a respectful way. And I think that's, that sort of skill for me is something that's so important. And we see it, when we're interviewing candidates, even when they first show up, when they're emailing with us and stuff, that stuff really matters. If I'm inviting you for an interview and I get back sort of abrupt or rude email, that already I'm thinking, I'm not sure about this candidate, because that matters, because then I'm thinking, how are you going to be communicating with the clients that I might recommend you to? So that sort of level of communication in your writing, but then in terms of, how you're interacting with people and respecting them makes a big difference. That matters a lot for me in my work and with my team. And I emphasize that with them, that our communication with each other and with people out there is really important. And so I think I would really, recommend people to focus on those kind of communication skills in their writing and in how they work with, with people and how they present themselves at interview and these sorts of things. It's all really important.
Totally. I mean, I agree. They always say that they buy the leader before any vision, and so do employers as well. They have to look at your character. It's not all about what is written in the papers. Who are you as a person? And some of the interviewers would want to throw a question to you just to kind of know how you will react to it. How are you going to handle situations in the organization or in the company? It's true. I mean, communication is very crucial thing to know. Yeah. And also the emotional intelligence.
Exactly.
So
absolutely.
I believe and hope that job seekers should also consider making your work easier as Imatong Employment Solution by working on some of the things, because these things has to be something you have to, it's a decision. And it's a personality.
Definitely.
And as much as you do, the work, you want them really to connect them to the right job. I think they also have a work they have to do, and like they need to look on the on the inside, their emotional intelligence. How do they react to the things, and nobody, no organization, no company, private sector, and NGOs that would want to hire somebody that speak rudely just from the first question.
Exactly. No, exactly.
It's something to be considered.
You're totally right. You've made me think something there that I think that sometimes, I think we often give feedback that has to be negative, right? So let's say you've done a written test with us and we're giving you feedback to say, unfortunately, you haven't been successful. And often the response that we get back can be quite defensive from the candidate, to say, well, I don't know why I wouldn't have been shortlisted, sort of response, which I can understand. You're frustrated and you wanted the job. But to remember that this world is small, right?
Yeah.
And as you say, that kind of emotional intelligence of thinking like, okay, let me help myself here, because who knows when there might be another opportunity or where we might encounter each other in another place. Exactly. And so I think that, thinking also about the kind of long term rather than the just immediate also, when you think of your interactions with people, is also really important on that.
Yeah, you mentioned about training. What are some of the training that you offer to the candidates? Because I can see you're really trying your best to making sure the candidates get the right job, and you also train them. What are some of the training? Do you also train on communication or on the CVs?
Yeah, sure. So we offer a range of different trainings. I guess the ones that we have done most of is in terms of helping people with applications. So helping them to put together their CVs, helping them to write cover letters, think about how to approach their cover letters. We've done, quite a lot of training on that, a little bit at Duby University, and then with smaller groups in our office as well. But we do provide other trainings like, how to behave in the office, communication skills, some of, as we say, these softer skills, and job interview skills and other things like that. So, and we're also very open, where people are seeing that they have some need, again, like I said before, we are open. So if people have suggestions about some trainings that they think would be useful, this is also something that we'd be happy to think about how we can provide that. I mean, for example, for some of our clients, there's a need for some support in terms of mental health and psychosocial support. In terms of Imatong ourselves, we don't have that, but we believe very much in the importance of that. So we have a partner that we work with that's international called Thrive Worldwide. And so for some of our clients, we're helping to provide some of those services in partnership together, because we recognize those things are necessary. So where even if Imatong can't necessarily provide the services that people might ask from us, like we can also look at ways to connect with other people so that the trainings can be there for the people who need them.
Amazing. I was going through your website and I found that and I was impressed. I'm like, wow, this is more than just, a bridge connecting access for the employers and the job seekers. You're doing amazing and keep doing what you're doing. Now, let's talk about the CV. First of all, I don't want to assume like everybody understand the CV. What is CV in the first place before we dive deeper into that?
Sure, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, CV is a curriculum vitae, right? And it's a summary or an overview of your work experience and who you are, really. And that's the first thing that kind of presents you to somebody who's looking at your application. So it's important to get it right, not just in terms of the content, but the way it looks as well.
Wow, amazing. I think you've heard the CV. If you don't know the CV, don't pretend. Just learn from that. Yeah. What are some of the key, highlights and the experiences that would help a candidate to succeed during the job interview that somebody can look at?
In the job interview?
Yeah.
Well, the first thing is to make sure you're on time. We often, if your interview's at 2, make sure you're there a bit ahead of time. Our office is quite difficult to find, and sometimes candidates complain about that. But again, that's about some of the communication things. Come the day before, figure out where the office is, make sure you're going to be on time. I remember when I was looking for jobs in the UK, those are the sorts of things that I would do. I'd be like, God, I don't know where this place is at all. Let me go and scope it out so I know where I'm going. I don't want to be late. It's surprising to me how many people don't take that seriously. We know people are busy, but timekeeping is really important, especially in that kind of initial, when you're trying to make a good impression, right? And then in the interview itself, I mean, I would say, as I said, we want to see who you are. It's about authenticity, and so come and be real. And I'm a big sort of advocate of just being really honest, And I think sometimes there might be a question you say, I actually don't really know the answer to that question, but I have some similar experience, or could you repeat the question, or whatever. That to just be honest about it, and there's no need to sort of pretend maybe you give an answer that's not not to the point because you didn't quite understand the question, but you were too scared to ask. Just feel as much as you can, feel relaxed. And this is something that in the interviews we do, we really try to make people feel at ease. I know a lot of interviews, there can be some really tough interviewers.
Yes, they can be nerve-wracking.
They can be very nerve-wracking.
Yeah,
and I guess I feel that it's actually much more important to try and make people feel comfortable, because I don't want to catch them out. I want to hear who they are, and I want to make them feel comfortable.
Oh,
to
yes,
talk
I
to
like
me.
what you just said. When you're seen and visibly uncomfortable, it can also mess things up.
Yeah,
for you.
sure. Yeah. But I understand that people get nervous. Interviews they're scary, and especially if you really want the job.
Like
and
that.
yeah. But I encourage people as much as they can to sort of relax into it and to be themselves, because that's what we want to see. And and to listen, I think, carefully to the questions, because often people maybe have an idea in their head of what they want to say, and they rush ahead without thinking, okay, what am I actually being asked here? What is the actual question? The other thing I would say is to always prepare some questions for the end. I guess that's common advice, but it's also not, sometimes we get to the end and we say, do you have any questions for us? And people say no questions. And I think, I want to see that you've thought a little bit about the job, and some questions, that you might have about the organization or anything that is sort of relevant to the job. People often ask, their one question is, when will I find out what is the next stage for the feedback, etc., which is fine. But I would encourage, if you can think of one question that really relates to the job and stuff, it really shows that you've done your preparation and you've thought about the job. Because again, in the interview, what I want to see is that you really want this job. And I understand that in the current context, as we've said, of the economy in South Sudan today, people are looking for any job. But I don't want to hear that in the interview. I want to hear that you really want this job, right? Yes. And I want to feel that. So I guess I would encourage people to do their homework, so that when they come to the interview, that they are speaking about the organization that they're really applying for, rather than speaking sort of generically, that they've done their homework. So I guess that's another thing I would encourage people to do.
Well, that's very true. Like we said earlier, interview can be, nerve-wracking,
For
and
sure.
they can put you in nervousness.
Like
you
this
don't know.
situation, for example.
No, you're good. So you would have everything that you want to say in your car or wherever you are before getting into the interviewer, and before you know it, when you sit with the interviewer, everything is blank.
Exactly.
I mean, it happened to everyone.
It happened to
because you
everybody,
want to impress, pass impression.
Yeah, yeah.
Does how you look, contribute to that as well? Like, does the presentation? I don't like this thing that they always say. Fake it before you make it. I don't agree with that. But I think, again, also in a good way, you sometimes need to represent. You don't want to look like your problem, right? Yes.
Yeah.
Does dressing matters?
Yeah, that's a very good point, and definitely I would say so. And actually, when I mentioned some of the training that we might do on like office etiquette, that's one of the things that we would think about actually. So certainly to come to the interview on time, dress professionally. It's not that you have to be wearing some expensive outfit, but that you've thought, this is a professional interview, and let me make an effort to be professional in this. So definitely that makes a difference. I think we're not judging books by their covers, but I think to show that you're a professional candidate, it's important to think about that for sure.
Yes. Anna, what are some of the questions that are commonly asked by the interviewers that maybe the job seekers or the candidate would expect? Like, what are some of the common questions?
Well, I guess the ones that we always start with, and I guess candidates would always expect, is tell us a bit about yourself and why you're interested in the job, what really motivates you for this job. And again, that's something I would say that people don't always do brilliantly on. I think we hear, when I'm asking you to tell me a little bit about yourself, I don't want to hear necessarily, I studied my primary school in this place, and that's all good, but I've seen that in your CV already. What I want to hear from you is really the highlights that you think make it particularly relevant that you're applying for this job. So, for example, I've worked for 5 years in logistics with a range of different organizations, and I've picked up these skills, which I think are particularly relevant to this job. And I'm really motivated about this job because I've seen that whichever organization is working in these areas, and I really appreciate their vision to do X, Y, Z. You show me that at least you've gone to the website, you've had a little look, like I said before, you've shown me that you've done your homework about this organization. And I think that's just on that point is that whilst it's good to sort of, show as much of your skills as possible in an interview, the interview is also an opportunity to show how you can summarize information and speak to the point and not go on for 20 minutes for an answer to a question. That sort of concise response is also, I think, something that some people might benefit from learning as well. But I guess other questions would be a range. So, I mean, sometimes you'd have a scenario question. So, you might say, if you're applying for a security position, there's a security emergency. What would you do in this situation? So, you're thinking about scenarios. In other cases, it's like, based on your experience, can you tell us about a time where you had a problem in the office? And I guess that's a common question, like thinking about problems or challenges and how you've overcome them. And that kind of thing. Yeah, exactly. And I think often we ask about, where you might have implemented a change or a new system or something like that, because again, that's speaking to that point of initiative, which I believe is really important. I guess other questions also about how you work with people. So, how you might interact with a team. If it's a managerial position, what's your managerial style? How do you work with people? How do you manage challenges in the office with people? Those sorts of questions. So I guess those are probably some of the main areas. And then, of course, depending on the specific position, the questions might be more technical if it's a finance position or whatever. But those sort of general types of questions, I guess, are the things you can expect. And I would say that first question is probably pretty common across interviews. About, tell me about yourself and your motivation, and having a sort of a good answer to that really sets you off well in the interview, that, and having a strong closing question. Then even if the middle's gone a bit shaky, at least you've got 2 points where you feel like this was good.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
Wow. The space that you're working in is not easy because this is human to human business, right? What are some of the challenges that you encountered and how did you overcome them? Maybe perhaps talk to us about one particular specific challenge that you encounter and how you were able to navigate around that challenge.
Sure.
Because it's not easy to connect people to people.
Yeah.
You know, human beings
Yeah, it's not easy to do that. And I think as I said at the beginning, like everything we do is about people, right? And so, I mean, in every situation, what I am trying to promote is, as I say, fairness, kindness, respect. And I think in every scenario where we face challenges, like keeping close to those kind of values is what has helped us to kind of navigate. I guess, I don't know if this directly answers to your question, but maybe one of the things I would say, which is one of the hardest things that we've had to do as a company, and actually really me as an individual, I've found it one of the most challenging things too, is that earlier this year with the funding cuts from the US government, we had a number of staff on contracts with one of our clients who were working in healthcare, whose contracts had to be terminated as a result of the cuts. And I've, in my experience, not had to terminate so many contracts at once before. And of course, there are all the legal implications that go with that. And that's a sort of separate conversation. But the sort of the human side of it and having to manage like people's experiences of that really difficult process was something that I think really tested like me and all of the team in terms of keeping to those values of ours, right? And also tested our communication skills as well. And I guess I would say again that where those human to human connections are, which obviously they were quite tense in that kind of situation because everybody is feeling that this is a horrible situation.
Correct.
There's, you know, people are feeling resentful, and so to be able to like communicate as much as possible and just explain as much as possible what was going on, I would say absolutely. We are not perfect. We didn't do it perfectly, but I would hope that the sort of values that we had helped us to navigate through it as respectfully and kindly as possible with the staff and also with our client as well, and with ourselves as a team to recognise that there's a toll on the team when they have to sort of manage that process as well. So I think that's, you know, that was a really challenging situation, and as you say, a learning experience definitely. It's made us a better team from having gone through that. But, you know, it was a hard process for everybody. And I think those sorts of, approaches helped us, I hope, to manage it in a sensitive way and made everybody feel sort of at least valued at the end of it, even though they didn't have their jobs anymore.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, you handle it well. And there's nothing, not all the industry, whichever industry that you're in, there are always challenges.
Sure.
There is no 100% kind of thing.
Yep.
In fact, your industry is the hardest, is a bit hard. I would not say it's the hardest, but it also has its own challenges and it's unique, whatever.
Definitely.
You know, and that brings me back to the question that I want to ask about, you know, the situation again. I'm not afraid to say that. Has kind of put us in a position where everybody is just looking for anything to do, because at the end of the day, everyone has to put the food on the table, right?
Yeah.
So anything I can do, Anna, anything I can do.
Exactly, yeah.
So how do you, and I would assume that's also another challenge, and I like what you said earlier, just be you, just say I want to do the job. Don't say it out of desperation. Don't just come desperate, because again, if you look like a problem, you know, somebody cannot come from the road that did not bath for, I mean, I'm not judging, but I'm just saying it. Someone that maybe did not bath for like 2 weeks and then just walked to the office and said, I want to be a manager. I mean, you have to look the manager, right? So that brings me back to the question of how do you deal with that? And I would assume that is one of the challenges that you also face, trying to tell the candidates to just be themselves, just say that I can do it, and why you think it is your job, why you think you fit in that. What do you do around the career guidance on that? Because of course there's a lot, since you are desperate, since a lot of desperation out of, not in a bad way, everybody also has to, you know, put the food on the table, like I said before. And so that has actually squeezed us to a position where now it's no longer about what I want to do or what I'm happy to do. It comes down to what I can get at the moment. What do you do to such situations, especially on the career guidance, the confusing situation, especially on the youth?
I think that's a really, really good point. And I think, as we've said, I mean, as I said at the beginning, like, we can't underestimate how difficult the situation is now. I mean, I've been in South Sudan for a long time, and it feels at one of the most difficult points in terms of where we are with the economy. And I understand that it's as you say, people just need some income,
Yes, yes.
whatever that looks like. And I mean, a lot of people come to us, indeed desperate, and I understand. I mean, of course, I mean, it's difficult literally for everybody from bottom to top at the moment.
True.
And so I mean, we have a lot of people coming saying, as you say, please help me just to get any job. And I mean, I guess I would say just one thing from our side is that, you know, we help people as much as we possibly can. But that also, you know, we have to also maintain our level of kind of professionalism and fairness in the processes. So I certainly never sort of push my friends or push the, you know, people who just come to me like that. But what we do have is a database of candidates of, you know, a whole range of skills who can be drawn upon when clients come to us asking for different skill sets. But in terms of career guidance, yeah, I didn't mention that, but we do indeed provide training on that. And I guess one of the things I would sort of encourage people to think about, or that indeed I'm sort of thinking and talking about myself with friends and so on, is to think kind of a bit differently about the job market today. I think that there's been, you know, we've had a sort of boom over the past years, right, in the NGO jobs and that kind of world. And I think that we need to think differently about the jobs that are available out there. And I think really that people need to think more about the private sector, right? And, you know, what small business can you do for yourself, even if it's something very small. And I understand that even small businesses require some degree of financial input, and even that can be a challenge for people. But I would say that maybe there's a bit of a sort of shift in mindset in terms of thinking, I'm a job seeker, yes, but maybe there are things that I can do for myself to like create a small opportunity
Like
that
a
is
side hustle kind of.
correct. And I mean, you never know how your side hustles are going to turn out, right? I mean, when we established Imatong in 2015, it was with very little resource. We didn't have an office. We didn't have anything. We paid for the registration certificate, which I know in itself is a cost, of course. I don't underestimate that, but you know, we really didn't have much in terms of capital to put in. And now 10 years later, we're a functioning company, you know, and that's been a long story, but it's also maybe about patience. And I guess maybe that's a hard thing to say to people when they need money now in their hands. I totally understand that.
Yeah.
But I also do think that maybe a small investment now in a small side hustle, and with patience and time, you never know where that might get you. But that doesn't answer your immediate questions. I understand that in terms of, you know, people's needs. But I would, in terms of career guidance, we can definitely provide support with that. But my sort of more general, like, advice to people, I guess, is to think a little bit more about, what does the private sector look like, and what could I look like in terms of doing a small business for myself, whether it's, you know, buying some clothes and selling them on or whatever it might be, but something that can start small and maybe grow, which allows you to generate your own income rather than relying on some of these employers that are going to have fewer and fewer opportunities available, unfortunately. It's also thinking about different sectors as well, I think. I mean, different sectors will come up in South Sudan, are coming up in South Sudan. So I guess also thinking creatively about how you see the future and where you might fit into that. But I certainly don't underestimate how hard it is for people at the moment, And if there's anything that, like I say, we can do to help people in terms of building skills and stuff, like we're very happy to hear.
100%.
That,
100%. I mean, we are in time where I think we need to rethink, right, about the world that we are heading into.
Yeah.
I mean, last time I was just talking to my children, my beautiful 2 children, and we had been actually procrastinating about going to a certain restaurant because we were excited about it. You know why? Because they are robots. Robots are the ones serving, just in the Western world, in Nairobi actually. So we were just saying, we're going to go there, and we were just imagining how things would work. I mean, that brings me down to what I wanted to pin out. You said side hustle can help, for sure. This is a time where we need to revamp, you know, our thoughts. It's no longer about degrees that we have. It's not long about you know, the diploma or whatever. That I think we need to back up all of those things with the skills, because now no employer will just take you. There has to be something extra about yourself. There has to be something that makes you stand out, because now you're thinking about you are 8 people going for job interview, and the interviewers, of course, will have to look at the best candidate. And I think that's what you people are also looking for. You, at the end of the day, which is why you said earlier that some of them get frustrated.
Yeah.
100 out of 100. I mean, not everybody will get the job, right?
Exactly.
You have to
Yeah.
pick the best of the best at the end of the day, because you have to meet also the demands of the other one. What is one of the life story, like a touching story you can say during this career? I mean, girl, you've spent a lot of experience in this. You have a lots and tons and bags of experience. Yeah, because 12 years working in the space of development, making sure you're literally, would I say, making it, helping people, impacting their lives, and surely you're doing that. So what is one life story that you can say you proudly handle, like maybe somebody really desperate, and what yeah.
Yeah, that's a good question. I guess I feel very proud of like all the great candidates that we've placed with different people over time, and of the different situations that we've had to handle. But I guess what I might say is what we always try to do when we work with different clients on the recruitment side is to present them with a range of candidates who are obviously skilled for the position, but have generally a range of different backgrounds.
Yeah.
And maybe some of them might be a bit unconventional for the position. And, they meet all of the basic requirements, but maybe in a slightly different way. So let's say, for example, it requires 3 years of work experience, and it's for an embassy, for example. And you would expect that those 3 years of work experience might be in an NGO or in an embassy. But, when you've got a candidate who has 3 years of work experience, but it's not that sort of traditional path, it's something a little bit different. Maybe they've had some work in the private sector in a kind of creative industry or another job like that maybe you wouldn't immediately think that they would be the direct fit for this, but they demonstrated the right sort of softer skills and stuff. And I think that so we always try to present a sort of range so that our clients have a choice to think about. And I would say maybe one of the stories that like sticks in my mind is indeed in that situation we presented a sort of range of candidates, and actually they preferred some of the more traditional candidates and had discussions with those candidates, but in the end none of them worked out. And it was the candidate who had a little bit of a different approach and a little bit of a different background that actually worked out in the end. And I knew it. I knew when I interviewed those candidates, I knew who was the right person. And I told them, but they disagreed. And so they listened to the other candidates and they talked to the other candidates, who were all great, right? They were all good candidates. But I just, from my feeling of the candidate and from the client, I felt that was going to be the right match. And it took some time for them to realize, but then they finally realized. And I felt like, and this is what we're trying to do, is to give people opportunities who wouldn't always necessarily automatically get them. They've got all the right qualifications, everything, but, maybe they're coming from a slightly different background or whatever, and they wouldn't necessarily get that opportunity. So I think that that's something that we always sort of try to think about and encourage, because I think one of the other things that we see a lot, especially, I guess, in the NGO world, is that you see the same people cycling around the jobs, right? So maybe you have a job with one NGO, you apply and you get a job with another NGO because you've had an NGO background. Yeah. So then it's very hard for somebody new to come in, right?
Yeah.
And so what we're sort of trying to do is also to like inject a bit of that. Into so somebody who's from the private sector trying to come across, or the other way around, for example, from NGO world into the private sector. And if you can explain why your skills are relevant, then why not? Like, why can't you be considered? And I think to encourage also employers to think about their responsibility in building up the South Sudanese workforce as well, right? To not just to say, it's easy, we take this guy who's had a lot of experience in basically exactly the same job in another place. No, start thinking, okay, let's think how we can build the skills of this person, because yes, they've got relevant work experience and studies, but in a slightly different way. So what could they add that's like unique from their skill set that they could also learn from us? And I think we do need to encourage, and it's some of the conversations I have with some of our clients, like people to think more creatively about their kind of employment, like strategies and stuff, and also their kind of staff training and retention and these things, so that you can kind of build people up and also make them ready in case they are made redundant at any point, that they've got the skills that they need to sort of take into new jobs as well. And I think yeah, that's kind of why we set up, I guess, in the first place, in part to kind of promote talent.
Yes.
And so then we need to
Yes.
encourage those clients that we're working to think about their responsibility as employers as well. So that's part of our
amazing.
story.
Amazing. It's good to promote talent.
Mm.
Does Imatong does the short-term recruitment, or does Imatong does that? Like
You
the
mean
short term,
if it's
like
just a
for
short
2
term
weeks,
job? Yeah,
for
sure.
3
Yes,
weeks,
yeah.
for 1 month.
Yes, we do. We do have clients who come to us. That's why I say we have a database of candidates. So it's very good for
That's
anybody
amazing.
who's interested. Yeah, let them come to us, share their CVs. We can always keep their CVs on file. We can't make any promises to anybody, but what we can say is if somebody comes and says, look, we need cover for cleaners for this week, then we've got a database of cleaners, or whatever the position might be.
Yes.
So we do that, and I would again encourage people to come to us and to share their CVs with us. They can go on our website, they can register their CVs there. If they feel more comfortable, they can give us a call and come to the office, and we can collect people's CVs so that in case opportunities come up, then we have their contact.
Well, speaking on Imatong Employment Solution, maybe tell us about, you've already told us about the services and what you're able to do and what you're still doing. Maybe talk to us about the location where someone can find you. What are the requirements for people to actually access Imatong
Sure.
Employment Solution?
Well, we always want to hear from people. I mean, I love people. I'm really happy that I'm working in this field because I just really enjoy the opportunities
We love you too.
that I have to meet people. Thank you. I feel very lucky. Honestly, I feel very lucky.
Yeah.
And so we're always happy to hear from people. We have our website that is there, and through our website you can enter your CV and your cover letter and your certificates so that they are entered automatically into our database. We've also got all of our contact details there. But our office is in Tomping, behind the Catholic University. It's not the easiest office to find, but we have contacts on our website. So if people want to come and they can reach at least to the Catholic University, they can give us a call and we can give them directions. And, honestly, we're happy to receive applications from, CVs from anybody, because we will always add them to our database. And if they want some advice from us, then we're happy to give it. So we're very open. But our contacts are there. That's probably the easiest way to get in touch with us on the website: WhatsApp, phone number, email, whatever. It's all there, and my team are wonderful. I'm very lucky to have a wonderful team, and they will always, get back in touch with you. So, yeah.
Wow, that's great. I mean, you've heard Anna telling you where they are. Please don't waste time. Just hit there.
Yeah, please come and see us.
Yeah, Anna, thank you. I would like congratulations for the 10 years down the line for Imatong Employment Solution.
And makes me feel very old,
I'm
but
honored
it's okay.
and humble and privileged to be invited.
Yeah, you're highly welcome.
Yeah. So, what's next? What's next for Imatong? What are we expecting? What are we expecting?
Yeah, good question. 10 years
In
is
years to come,
a big landmark. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I guess, we really hope to expand our services in South Sudan. We have our office only in Juba at the moment, although we have focal points who are across the country, and we do obviously work across the country, but we only have an office here. I would love to have offices in other locations, and this is something that we'd be looking towards in the future. And to just really to be able to provide more support to more candidates and to more job seekers and to more clients as well, to just build out our services, and not thinking just about recruitment. I've mentioned the other services that we provide, and I would like to be able to provide more of those, especially in terms of trainings and things like that, to those who need our services across the country. We're also thinking about the possibility of expanding within the region, because we think that perhaps this what can I say, more tailored kind of
correct. Every
approach.
market is different.
Yeah, I think might be useful in other countries in the region. So we might also think about that. But South Sudan is the home for Imatong, so it's thinking about how to do better here first. We have a beautiful office, as I've said, and as I said, people
I
are
need
welcome.
to see that
Yeah,
office.
you have to come. We're very
need to
lucky,
see.
and we have a great team. I'd love to expand our team as well. So we hope in future just to go to new things, to be able to provide more support to people, honestly, because I believe that there's a big need, and I think if we can keep doing what we do in this kind of fair and transparent way, and I haven't mentioned the Ministry of Labour at all, but we do work closely with them, and I think appreciate their support a lot in the work that we do. And I think if we can do more together with them as well to provide the services there for people in employment in South Sudan, then that's a great thing.
Amazing. That brings me now, you've put something in my mind. So what are some of the things that you collaborate with the Ministry of Labor?
Well, I guess it's a growing relationship with them. I mean, we've been in touch with them obviously for a long time.
Yeah.
They've been doing a lot of,
because you have common goal, yeah.
yeah, of course. And so, I mean, we keep them updated on our work all the time so that they know, how many positions we filled that year and, which candidates have gone into which jobs. And of course, as I mentioned before, in some of the legal sides, we have to always be in touch with them. But there's also a lot of work that they're doing, especially with the International Labour Organization, thinking about especially like migrant workers' rights and things like that. And so we are very much part of those kind of workshops that they organize together with the Ministry of Labour in some of those conversations. I know that there was also some initial discussions around a minimum wage discussion. And so some of those conversations that the Ministry of Labour is having, we are glad to be part of those. And we're privileged that they always invite us as a private recruitment company, because I think they see us hopefully as also important actors in this kind of in this kind of space. But I think there's a lot more that we could do. And I think, I mean, especially for us as we build out some of our training, there's also space to work better with the Ministry of Labour in terms of some of the trainings that we organise around their regulations and things like that, and bringing some of their experts in. And they've done some other work around helping to introduce the process for formal registration for HR companies, which at the moment is still in process. But they did have a consultant come in who we discussed with on that. So, they're doing great work. They have a lot of work, but we're happy to be able to work with them. And I know there's a new undersecretary now, and so we're looking forward to meeting with him.
Amazing. I mean, we've talked a lot about the job seekers, but we don't want to be biased here. I have one more question as we approach towards the ending. Yeah. So, what can employers consider in terms of, what do you have tips for them that you can perhaps talk to us about, that makes them build a right team that will work together smoothly for the benefit of the organization or the private sector?
Yeah. Well, I think, I mean, some of the tips I would have are the ones that I've sort of mentioned before about, communication with staff and respect and things like that, which I think, to be honest, sometimes is really lacking. And I think that we can always do better, right? Like, all of us can always do better. And I think that I would say that some of those areas employers could probably do better on some of those areas in terms of, communicating with their staff and thinking about the treatment and the spaces that they work in as well. I think, we think about the work and needing to be productive and to get out X, Y, Z, but it's like, how do you do that? That's about the environment that you work in. That's how people are treated in your office. That's about how, you work together as a team. And I think, thinking creatively or a bit outside the box as an employer of like how you can do that will benefit your team and your organization, your company, like hugely, right? As I've said, we have a relatively small team at Imatong, but we've got a big impact, but small team. But
it will grow.
But it means a lot to me to think about how we work together. And as I've said, we have this beautiful space we work in. I see that we all do better because we're in this beautiful space. But I think it means a lot to people to be in a space they feel comfortable in, that they feel, exactly. And I think that's, again, something that I would encourage like employers to think about. And then, like I say, sort of additional programs, like maybe there's mental health support that can be provided. Maybe there's sort of wellness stuff. There are benefits that you can provide to your staff. Lunch, for example, things that just make people feel a little bit more at home in their workspace, not to the extent that they just go to sleep all the time, but I think that thinking about the space that you're working in and the way that you're sort of working with each other is, it has so many benefits for the company or for the organization. So I guess those are some of the things that I would say. There's many more, but maybe those are some of the top ones.
Amazing. Like I was mentioning earlier about the robots. So this is, everybody's scared because what are we looking? Maybe talk to us about one thing that we are expecting, because the way the world is changing, I mean, it's amazing. Like I was saying earlier about the robots that we wanted, the restaurant. where we want to go with my children and eat, and where the robots comes and serve you. That means that sometimes put a kind of it's scary sometimes to think as
Totally
a human
agree.
being, because
Yeah.
it's like, where are we going as a world, right?
Yeah.
Does it mean that some of the job will be taken by the robots?
Yeah.
Or which is why it's important to kind of consider the side hustling and the skills. We should not only now that brings me to the question, what is the advice, what is the general advice you can give to maybe one to employers and then one to job seekers?
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I think that, I mean, as you say, the world is a scary place on many levels right now, right? I mean, AI is one thing, but you know, the conflict that we see across the world is another. You know, it's a scary time to be living in lots of ways, right? But I think that I do think that some of the sort of values that I've emphasized throughout this conversation in terms of like honesty and kindness are the things that like will keep us grounded as humans, right? And those are the things that like maybe AI can try, but like you know, that these connections that we're having, like these conversations that we're having, like these are the things that are going to keep us like grounded as humans, right? And I guess maybe those are the things that I would encourage everybody to think about. Like if I say that to everybody, you know, like in your job search, in your hustle, which is so hard and so stressful, like keep yourself like honest, like with yourself and with the people around you. And the same with kindness, like be kind to yourself, like be kind to the people around you. Like it's really, really hard for everybody. And I think like remembering that, like knowing that you're really struggling, but also like a lot of people around you probably are too, like it's not going to answer all your questions, but I do think and believe that like what we're putting out there is in the end going to be what comes back to us, right? So I think that that's really important to think about. And I think probably for employers, it's the same thing. Like treat your clients or your employees with honesty and with kindness, and they're going to do the best that they can for your company then, right? Like I understand profit, I understand all of these things, but ultimately like we've got to treat each other in the right way. And if we do, like we're like contributing to something better, right? And I think that would be my advice, pretty general advice to everybody, but certainly to the employees and the employers that like we interact with as well.
Wow, I really had a nice time having this conversation with you, and I believe my viewers has enjoyed. They did not just enjoy, but they've learned, and they have. I hope they have learned, and I think they have learned as well. Me too, I've learned.
Good, well, thank you. I've enjoyed this.
Thank you so much. Thank you once again for coming over. I mean, we all busy, but you managed to get a time. And for my viewers as well, I just want to take a moment to say a very big thank you. I mean, we all are busy looking for jobs or maintaining the jobs. Everything revolves around the jobs, right? So I do hope that you have learned something. You may not learn everything, but I know that one or two things has hit you hard and you have walked away with, and which is why we are here. We want you to arise. We want you to lead. We want you to influence. Don't just sit there without putting effort into looking for whatever. And Imatong Employment Solution is here for you, but you have certain things that you have to work on as yourself that Imatong is not going to be to do them for you. And thank you so much once again for giving us your ears, my listeners, and not to forget my amazing team that put this work together. I mean, I'd said it last time that you get to see me shining on the camera doing nothing, right? Just talking. blah, blah, blah. But there's an amazing team that put the work together, and it is the care, it is the love, it is the compassion they put into it. So I just want to say thank you. May God bless you, and thank you, everyone. Bye.